This episode discusses sexual assault and domestic violence. While not explicit, listener discretion is advised. Terra's story exemplifies bravery, resilience, and a commitment to helping trauma survivors. At just 25 years of age, she confronted serial predator Dirty John Meehan, defending herself in a life-changing moment. This sparked a journey that transformed her into a beacon of hope for many. Her experiences have shed light on the critical issue of domestic violence, making her an influential voice through her appearance on the Dirty John podcast, which reached over 1 million listeners. Terra's advocacy extends beyond podcasting and is dedicated to building a supportive community for survivors. Terra provides invaluable guidance and solidarity, inspiring individuals globally. Her efforts in combating domestic violence pave the way for a future where every survivor has access to the resources and empowerment they deserve. This is True Crime in Hollywood, Terra's personal tale. Sorry, I'm getting my podcast voice on instead of like friend voice. Hello, everyone. I am sitting down today with one of my dear friends who I absolutely adore. This is Terra Newell. Hi, Terra.
Hi, Celene. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. We've been talking about doing a podcast interview for a while. Today's finally the day, so I am so excited. Terra, one of the things that I want to do in this podcast is have people get to know you as a person. You are not your story. And so that's really what this conversation is about, and picking your brain. And we are talking about all the things that happen behind the scenes when it comes to true crime in Hollywood. But equally, I think something that people may not fully know about you, you have been in this industry for a while.
Oh, yeah. So I started off as basically being a supportive girlfriend for a PA and someone that was trying to aspire to be a DP.
Mm,
And I was like, okay, let's move to Vegas. Let's move out there because that was where his in was in the
mm,
industry because his stepmom was a casting director and is like a big casting director in Vegas. She cast a lot of mostly like background work for like the major productions that come in, say like Jason Bourne. We did Mall Cop 2,
oh, yeah.
The Trust, a Sonic commercial I did one time.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and I got to do it with the Pawn Start people too.
Oh my gosh. Well,
Yeah, so it was fun to meet them, and then
yeah.
I got to just go to set all the time. I got to do a lot of background work, but I was also kind of the person that didn't really work on set, but just would go visit, and then everybody like bring food sometimes, even
Yeah.
there's craft service there. I would also go take some stuff in craft service.
Oh, I love this.
But everyone loved me on
Oh,
set for the most part,
yeah.
and it was like a day here or there, or like there'd be like a cool scene and I could just like sneak on by. You know what I mean? It wasn't like I was like deep in it, only on the days where I was in background and I got a little bit special treatment because I
Yeah.
knew the production that was there and I made friends with production and my boyfriend at that time, I started off in Mall Cop 2 for background
Mhm.
and that was my like start into that industry
Yeah.
and he was a background casting PA. So like it was like, "Oh, do you really need to use me? Oh no, I'm going to take a nap over here." And just which you should not do as a background person at all. You
Yeah.
should not be taking a nap on set. I
Yeah.
really just got special treatment and then that really led into just like this interest in production
Mm.
and then come around so like 2013 is like when I went into or like 2012 is like the start of like the production, the fun stuff over that. And then or 2013 or 2012, but then I got approached by about my story by the LA Times, and
Mm,
then I got turned into a podcast. But before that, I was actually trying to see if I could shop it around.
yeah.
But because I did the podcast and that got turned into public information, and then the LA Times owned that story, they
Mm,
were able to shop it around before anything and then sold it to Bravo for 2 seasons.
hmm
And so it was already sold to get made, where, if you're going around to shop stuff,
hmm
there's a chance that it could not get made. And
Right.
you could sell it to a production. They just keep it in the back burner for a while and they just own your story, right? It's like, for example, and this is like a big production or a big company and stuff, Leonardo DiCaprio. He
hmm
owns the rights to so many movies, but some of them will never get made. Like,
Wow.
say, Brave New World, I know he talked about never making Brave New World, but he owns the rights to it because he believes that it can never get made right.
Hmm.
Yeah. But, that's just the chance that you go if you go to shop yourself.
Right.
And so I could have made a lot more money in a sense,
Yeah.
but I would have been also my competition would have been Bravo.
Don't really want to take them on.
No,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
it's the best choice of like the two choices in a sense, even
Right.
though I didn't have the rights to my story. I didn't,
Wow.
other than like signing off my story, but they had like they couldn't make anything without me.
Yeah. Can we talk about the ethical implications of that though?
Yeah, no, well, there really is no union in true crime. There really is
hmm
no laws or restrictions or anything. I know the UK is doing things differently and they have a set of guidelines that they have to follow, which is really cool for the UK.
The true crime, I think it's like the True Crime Association, something like that. But that's upsetting though, to know that like that's established there, but nothing is being done here. And that's kind
Yeah.
of what the hope is of us talking about this.
Well, and if you think of it, they are essentially a bit more established as an organization and as a country
Absolutely.
because they've been around a lot longer than the US. But the US is also based on freedom
hmm
and equal opportunity and not taking advantage of people, right?
Right. You became like a household name. I will give you an example. I don't think I've ever told you this. My mom, who solely watches like her daily programs, I think we had a conversation once and I said, "Yeah, so I met Terra Newell from Dirty John." And my mom was like, "Oh, I know about Dirty John." I was so caught off guard. So then I was like, okay, this is actually making waves. What was that like?
It was crazy because the only thing I really wanted in my story blowing up was for The Walking Dead to hit me up and for me to become a zombie on The Walking Dead. And that's never happened.
Oh my gosh.
But I almost had a few chances because I met a lot of great people in different productions. And
Yeah.
this girl lived in Atlanta and she knew a lot of people that worked on The Walking Dead.
Oh
But then
my
COVID
gosh.
happened, and then that was their last season of The Walking
Right.
Dead. They have a lot of great spinoffs, so there's always the opportunity for a spinoff. But
Oh,
that
I
was
love this.
Thanks, that was my goal in
Yeah.
well, it was actually to help other women,
Yeah.
but Christopher Goffard, he was saying, "Oh, don't be surprised if The Walking Dead reaches out to you." And I was like, "Oh, that is my hope. That is a
Yeah.
great hope. That would be amazing." But, something better happened in a sense is
Mhm.
I got so many messages, DMs, text from other women saying that they left their abuser because of this story.
My goodness.
And that is something, well, that is the goal in telling the story, that I felt that it would help other women. And then it was just, a special thing when Christopher Goffard mentioned my favorite TV show. In a sense, it turned into a phenomenon.
It did.
all these people are like, I dated a dirty John. I
Mhm.
dated a dirty John. And at first, I disassociated because that's a part of the trauma response.
Yep.
And it's so hard to see it for what it is. And Hollywood can kind of take your trauma and try to make it all shiny and polished. Like, for example, the PR with It Ends With Us, with the Colleen Hoover movie. They're trying to put a shiny bow on it because they know that domestic violence doesn't sell like it should, because people are not wanting to talk about their experiences, but now people more so are, but there's still people that, 1 in 4 women are affected by domestic violence. It's not so bright and shiny. It's
Mhm.
very dark, it's very dreary, and it's not like a thing that you want to like promote, but it really blew up in the Dirty Johnson. So and domestic violence became like this huge thing. And we were also a part of the Me Too movement, like the tail end of
Yes.
that. So
Mhm.
that did help in boosting the story. With the entertainment industry, there's always like seasons that you kind of go through. Like right now, like the baby reindeer stuff is kind of hot.
Yeah.
Like I hate to say this, but like stalking is a hot topic right
Yep.
now. And
Yep.
we went into con artists, intimate partner relationships, and that's still like hot in a sense, but we're getting more into the trend of stalking and what's selling right now with that. It's really interesting how Hollywood gets into all these trends, and now I feel like I'm on a ramble.
No. You're not though, but you're basically putting things in perspective because you're right. There is like a trend, and I think a part of that is because consumers started saying, is this an ethical project? Should I be watching this? And that started happening a bit more over like the last few years, I feel like. So then it seems like Hollywood has kind of evolved to, just like you said, like con artists and like less grotesque crimes to like more of like psychological and whatnot. So yeah, you're onto something with that.
Yeah, like, I mean, murder, and I hate to say it in these terms that, like, but this is just like how the industry sees it.
Yeah.
Like, murder will always be quote unquote like hot in a sense,
Hmm.
but there's always these trends that go on and like what's selling and what's like, and it started off from, like, cold, hard serial killers in a sense, then
Hmm.
went to, like, the con artists, the Me Too, then going into the stalking, and, also, like, I felt like pyramid scams were kind of like a big thing.
Yeah.
Now also the
Yep.
church for a moment, that was a season, and now we're kinda stepping out of the church season because we've had so many
Hmm.
shows around that and just really about stalking right now.
And it's interesting because you also hit on It Ends With Us, and I had a DV survivor interview where we went deep into that and how that has all transpired. But I think it's also equally important to hear what you have to say about that. And as a survivor watching how it's marketed, the language that was being used by Blake, the dismissiveness of it all, and yeah.
So I gotta say, I am a huge Blake Lively fan. So I may be slightly biased in this,
Hmm.
but I think just with like the PR stuff that I even went through, I think it's her PR team. I don't think she knows enough about domestic violence.
Hmm.
And you can see that luckily, she wasn't one of the people to grow up in a household with domestic violence,
Yeah.
and I can't say that 100% because I don't know her life. And every survivor takes the approach differently of how they deal with domestic violence.
Yep.
I know a lot will brush it under the rug. It's not there, it doesn't exist. And then a lot are screaming at the wind and saying, "Hey, I'm here. This abuse happened to me." And I'm kind of one of those people.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think the PR was off. I don't think that they thought that domestic violence would sell.
Hmm.
And I am I don't think it would sell to the people that are brushing it under the rug.
Mm. Yeah.
But I do think it's a good selling point. I think with something you could have done with the flowers is outlined bodies with the flowers and kind
Mm.
of put a little bit more information around domestic violence, or even handed out flowers to people on the streets, since they had a
Mm.
really big budget with the flowers and with the shop and everything, because that her character owns a or works in a flower shop. And so they could have handed out a flower to women on the streets, and or women at the premiere, and just been like 1 in 4 women is a victim of domestic violence, and just offering some statistics out there. I think that she should have been well informed in the statistics of domestic
Mhm.
violence. I think people's egos got in the way of this movie
Yeah.
from both sides, to be honest.
Hmm.
I think that Justin's ego got in the way because he was butthurt by Blake probably trying to take over and direct everything, it seems. And then she wasn't too happy by some of the comments. And you work with directors. A lot
Yeah.
of directors are very, very bossy, because they have to direct. And
Yes.
I've seen so many directors like yell at people and then
Yeah.
turn around and be like, "Oh, Tara, thank you so much." And
Right.
they're literally like screaming at someone, "Get that out of the shot. I don't want that in there." And I could totally see her being put off by just like him directing and telling her what to do.
Hmm.
And then when he said the comment about the weight, I see how PR spun that comment.
Yeah.
A
I
PR
know.
was like, "Oh, he was asking how much it would be."
No.
No, no.
Had a
Um,
back injury. That's a
yeah.
legitimate question.
I mean, it can be a legitimate question, but I don't think that in the whole cast wouldn't like him,
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
know? So I think there's a lot of interesting dynamics, and I just think that everyone kind of let their ego get in the mix. I think that they brought Hollywood in for the PR, and the PR team didn't know jack shit about domestic violence.
Hmm.
And I think that it's on the PR team, but I also don't like the fact that Blake Lively said that she picked out all the music. And I don't really know if she picked out the music, because there's actual people that have those jobs on the movie and
Exactly.
have
Yeah.
that credit. So I don't know for say I think that's kind of a PR stunt to say she picked out the music, but I don't know.
Hmm.
And they picked out music where these artists have assaulted women.
No, I didn't know this.
Yeah. So, match the source. Alexa, forget her last name, but she was, well, she's like a multi-trauma verse survivor, but she was in the Nickelodeon doc.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I know exactly who you're talking about. Yes.
Yeah. So, they used one of her abusers' music on the film.
That just gave me chills.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an argument that you see a lot too, where people are asking separate the artist from their art. For
No.
me, I cannot.
Like, I'm sorry, and people will some people die on the hill that Michael Jackson wasn't an abuser.
Yeah.
He abused actually one of my close family friends. But that person will never come forward at all. And
Yeah.
that person will never share their story, because they don't want to be told that their story's false. They don't want, and they also don't really want to be known as like a Michael Jackson survivor in a sense. Um,
Yeah.
and they don't talk about it. But it was this huge thing that happened, and I remember hearing stories as I was a kid. And my parents didn't look at Michael Jackson the same way as other parents did, because I have to be careful here. My family friend got molested.
That's a tough one because Finding Neverland, after that came out, and you are watching these two survivors. I have, at that point, that was the worst abuse that I had heard involving children in a very long time. And it was so disturbing to me. And after that, it was like, there is no question, because you see the body language, you see the trauma just going through them. And the fact that there's still people denying that they're making, they're making this up. They want money from his estate. Bullshit. I'm sorry, bullshit.
I remember arguing with true crime creators about it. And well, like, I'm sure you know one of them that I was arguing with.
Yeah.
But I was arguing with them at the H Club in Hollywood. And we were literally on the rooftop having some Aperol spritzes.
Mhm.
And I like discussing that. And people were like literally saying that they don't believe these victims. And I was like, wait,
Wow.
what?
Wow.
No.
There's no. I think that's the part for me as a rape survivor, seeing people do that. Because it's like, once again, why would you ever want to be known as that? That's what becomes your identity to people. At the end of the day, your trauma identifies you. So I think that's where this is, why we have to have this conversation because we have seen this happen, and we have seen it happen in our own personal lives too, which is something that I'm I'm ready to talk about. And I think doing so with the support of you, it's a lot. So with that being said, Tara and I actually were introduced to each other during a really, really hard time in both of our lives. And we didn't know we were suffering from what felt like a big aha moment. And I'm referring to the situations that we experienced with Billy Jensen. And I think it's important that we talk about this because Tara, like the moment that I heard your story and your side, I remember getting chills and just things were like flashing in my head from my night with him. And it just, in that moment, it was like, okay, this is a safe person. You are a safe person that I can talk to, and you might understand me a little bit better. And so that's kind of where our friendship came from, and really being able to be there for survivors all around us. But then it was like survivor to survivor, like, I'm here for you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like I said, we've talked about this behind, closed doors and, but I think what's important to share is that anybody who comes forward breaking their silence, regardless if they are a public figure or not, whether they have been in the media or not, it does not matter. It is a really terrifying moment because you don't know what's going to happen next. And you don't know if you are poking the bear, if you will, with the abuser. And this is somebody who had a lot more notoriety and power than Tara and I in our own ways. But I think it's really unique to be a part of, like, I don't want to call it a sisterhood because that's really not
We're part of the sisterhood of the
of the yeah.
sobriety letters.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. It's a hard thing to go through because in one instance, it feels great to have people who understand what you went through and you're not going to be gaslit. But at the same time, trauma develops in people in very different ways. We're all on very different journeys. And, that's where it gets hard. And I think the fact that we've been able to support each other for the last almost, well, 2 years. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it's been 2 years since the Rolling Stone article, actually, now that I think about it. What was that like for you when you were approached to talk about this?
Well, I didn't want to like at first I was going to be anonymous.
Yeah.
I didn't really want to come out about Billy because it was I honestly thought Billy was my friend.
I did
And
too. I did
right?
too. Hmm.
But friends don't do what he did to other friends.
Yep.
And friends don't touch you in places where you're not supposed to be touched. And I felt bad when I actually called him out. I felt like I was disappointing someone that I actually cared about. But he's so good at making things seem like they're normalized. And what really brought me to okay, so he did apologize to me, and I kept telling him, it's okay. It's okay, but it's really not okay. And he knows that now. And I haven't talked to him since I told him that the Reddit stuff was triggering me, because there was message boards before the Rolling Stone article came out about Billy Jensen and sexual allegations.
Yeah.
And there was a whistleblower, and she couldn't share her story. And I knew that. And so when I know that survivors can't share their story, I'm kind of like, what can I do to support you? And it was more so for supporting other people rather than validating my story.
Mm-hmm.
And when I did share, I realized how fucked up it all was, because I was being used to also make other women jealous, and I was being used as a pawn. And I remember sitting at this booth, and I was wasted. And this was after his book signing. And I remember him literally like grabbing the back of my neck, like grabbing the back of like my head in a sense, like very sexually. And then also grabbing my thighs and stuff. And I felt like I was kind of enjoying it a little bit, to be honest. But I didn't want it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that
Like, it's
makes
like
sense.
when something sexual happens to you, you have those sensations and feelings.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, I would never be with anyone that's married,
Mm-hmm.
even if it was an open marriage. And if I knew that one of my friends was sleeping with him or doing anything with him, I'd be like, what are you doing touching me right here, right now?
Yeah.
And he was touching me in front of one of this other girl. He was touching me in front of my friend Rachel O'Brien, and Rachel O'Brien, well, like, she contributed to the article. She had to pull me out at one point. I think he went up to the restroom or something, and she said, "Are you okay right now? I am so disgusted right now." And I just like brushed it under the rug, because I've been conditioned my whole life to like not think abuse was abuse, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Same.
And so I was like, is this fucked up? And honestly, I was so confused.
Yeah.
And then I found out later that the girl that he was trying to make jealous was so upset by what was going on. And I was so wasted, I had no idea either. And I remember I was the last there because my friend left because she was so disgusted. But she also asked and she wanted me to go with her, but I told her I was okay. And I ended up at one point getting a little too uncomfortable, because he was telling me how good he is at eating out his friend, we'll say.
Yes.
And he was just telling me more and more. And then I'm not gonna lie, I was in my 20s, and he was also being like, "You're trouble." And
Mm.
I was drunk, so I was replying, "I am trouble,"
Yeah.
which is 100% true. you shouldn't be doing what you should be doing. This is trouble. Don't try to go any further, dude.
Yeah.
But instead, I kind of did start to get the ick then, but I just appeased. And I ordered my Uber to go home. My car was actually at my friend's Rachel's place. And I ordered my Uber, and then he was like, "Oh, well, let me walk you out to it." And I actually remember, but I don't think he was picking up on this. I was actually trying to go out and just jump in my Uber and like not have him walk me out.
Right.
But then he walked me out, and then it's a little fuzzy to me, but somehow like he kissed me. And then I got in my Uber. And then I thought about how that could have led to more. I just remember him in the beginning trying like at CrimeCon. And I don't know why I'm like this, but I think it's also good that I'm like this is that I'm still trusting after my trauma and
Mm,
after all these people. But CrimeCon, it was right after I met him and right after we recorded on the First Degree podcast. I invited him to the Dateline party, and I remember just getting wasted there with him. And it was like, oh, so much fun to go get wasted with like all these true crime people and stuff. And then I was really hitting it off with Alexis. And I still love Alexis. You know, I think she's a great person, and I think that I'm very thankful for, you know, her bringing me on the First Degree. Well, a publicist like connected me with Jack and Alexis, and Alexis has been really actually supportive during the whole Billy thing, to be honest.
that's good.
And even her and Jack came to my anniversary, my survival anniversary after that, and brought me donated like a YSL purse, and also gave me a YSL like card holder that I still
That's
have,
fine.
right? So they were supportive to me when I shared and came
Yeah.
out with that experience
Yeah.
because I think, well, let's get real. They knew what had happened was wrong, and so
Right.
they supported me.
Right.
And they also have to be careful because he like they have deals. He was on the podcast, they had a
Mhm.
contract and stuff with him. So they have to be careful, and why they didn't go publicly say something, I totally understand,
Yeah.
you know, but just know that they supported me in it. Yeah, and so I'm thankful for that. And then okay, so CrimeCon happened, and I just like was appeasing the Billy the whole time because I loved Alexis, and Jack was cool too, you know. And I was getting closer to Billy. I was and we were going out, and then there was like Paul Holes out there too because him and they are best buds, you know?
Oh yeah.
And then that's like the night where I met Emily Nestor and all that stuff. So, you know, fast forward, and then, okay, so he ended up actually walking me back to my hotel. And I kept being like, no, I'm fine walking alone. No, I'm fine walking alone. But I guess New Orleans is a bit dangerous.
Yeah.
So I was like, I guess fine. He could walk me. And then he ended up holding my hand where I was just like drunk and dazed and being like, "What's going on?" And then the next day I asked a few people if he was in a relationship and if they thought that was weird or not or like intimate.
Yeah.
And a few people told me Billy has a wife. I think that was just friendly.
Mm,
So I'm thinking, okay, like this
yeah.
guy's just really touchy-feely. He doesn't need a supply every single day.
Yeah.
Then, you know, his book signing happens, that weird incident happens. My friend can't be around that. And then when I get back to her place, she's like, Tara, that was so weird. I don't want to release his episode. And I literally
Wow.
thought it was all my fault. So I begged her to release that episode. Then I tried to be like friends with Billy because I was friends with Alexis. I wanted to support Alexis. And so I kind of brushed everything under the rug, even though people knew that was what happened to me was wrong. And a
Mhm.
few even told Billy that it was wrong. And then Billy like ended up apologizing even during that time too. Yeah, and then it just like transpired into like a big clusterfuck.
Yeah. Sounds
And
like that.
I remember meeting his wife at Lenora's wedding.
Oh
The
my
wife did
gosh.
not have the best energy towards me because she could tell. And he would also like I remember he went to go get he was like, "Oh, Tara, do you want a drink?" And I was like, "Sure." He went and got me and him a drink and then not his wife. And then I literally waited till he went and got his wife a drink to have my drink because like I'm not trying to fuck your man.
Right. Yeah.
Celene. Okay, and then the best part is when these allegations started coming out, that's when he's like, "Oh, you need an agent for your book? Let me get you an agent. Oh, let me help you with your book proposal." And that's when he started really helping me with all of that.
Wow.
Like
And
he
you never shared that. Oh my.
well, and he
Oh,
always said he would and stuff.
yeah.
And then like we were trying to find times, this and that. But then when all those allegations came out was when like he finally got his shit together to like help me.
Everything that you're saying, it it's bizarre because I only met him the one time in person. But Billy came into my orbit because after the first slew of like Ted Bundy stuff that came out in early 2019 was the talk of the town. And he posted, I believe, on Twitter, he put every single victim of Bundy's and like their picture and did this whole thing. And I think I still have it on my Facebook just as a to make sure that's time stamped. Let's be real. But anyhow, so we retweeted it on our Theodore page and so that's when we started talking. And I think it was through a DM, I want to say on Instagram, and he wanted to learn about what my project was. And he thought it was so admirable that I was not actually focusing on Bundy. It was the people who were affected by him. He also learned that Bundy, I found this out and shared with him that Bundy's most hated term for him was Theodore. He did not like to be called Theodore. And this was something that Billy thought very highly of. um, so over the course of those months, I want to say that was like either January, February of 2019, and my evening with him happened November of that year. And over between that time frame, we would check in here and there with each other, talk about Bundy stuff. I mean, he was really supportive of things that, I would post on Twitter or, and just as you described, like really mindful, just, I don't even want to say that because I almost said very demure, but I'm not going to say that. But he was very like supportive, right?
Yeah.
Like that,
Yeah.
like, and so that for me was like, wow, this is somebody who has more notoriety than I do. He really is entwined in this. That's so nice that he's so supportive. The other connection too was that Paul Holes. I had been communicating with Paul since I believe 2018, and he was also going to be a part of, Theodore. And so it was like they were buddies. So
Yeah.
it was like, oh, Paul, okay, well, Billy, so that's how it was. And finally the time came that I find out that he is going to be at Death Becomes Us, which I was already committed to with Sarah Kalin, who was also featured in the Rolling Stone article to back my story up. And like you, I felt like, oh, I'm mingling with very like top tier true crime people in this community. And so last podcast was there. That was the same evening with Ben Kissel. Um, I saw Billy before we went to the bar because he was hanging out backstage with the last podcast guys. And so saw him. He was kind of somewhat cold in a way, and he didn't seem, I don't know, he just had a very different demeanor. And then I get to the hotel, we're there, and then he sees me and he immediately grabs me and starts hugging me for a really uncomfortable of time, which at the time, like, just like you, I was conditioned to just whatever, you know what I mean? And that didn't register as like, this is weird. This
Yeah.
feels weird. And so, the evening continues and anywho, I don't want to necessarily go too much into it. I left that night feeling very confused because, like you, um, I was just kind of telling myself the inappropriate touching and stroking and he was just a touchy-feely person, I think was kind of what I said in my head. But Sarah, we didn't go to bed right away. And so I was kind of verbalizing it with her, but I still like, I don't know, like with you, I was just trying to justify
Yeah.
everything. And she was even kind of like, I mean, he was kind of a weirdo with you. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't know, maybe that's just who he is. Maybe that's. So chalked it up to that, but it wasn't sitting right with me. And then the about 2 days later, I went to brunch with Sarah and Paul Holes, and which is the reason we got brunch is another thing that I just won't even get into. But again, it involves just me being pulled into the drama world of true crime when I didn't want to be complicit in any of it. But anyhow, we did have a wonderful brunch. We had a great conversation. He always seemed very passionate about the cases that I was working on. And so, anyway, so again, that was another reason for me to feel like maybe I'm just overthinking this whole situation and out of sight, out of mind. And about 3 weeks after that, I get a message from Billy just saying, hey, I went on Margaret Cho's podcast and I talked about Theodore. So make sure you look out for it. And I'm like, oh, geez. Okay, Margaret Cho. Okay. It's like that. Like, thank you so much.
Want to
Right.
know
And
the
it, and
funny
it
thing,
felt,
Celene?
uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Margaret Cho was on my podcast and I let her know what's up with Billy. But sorry,
Thank God.
continue. Sorry.
Thank
Sorry. I
God.
just had to add that in there.
Like if that goes to show. So that's another thing in the bucket that was like, I'm overthinking that whole night. He's a good guy. He's trying to help me. He really wants to see my project through. And then fast forward to March of 2020, lockdown literally had like just happened and Salt Lake City gets hit with an earthquake and it was big and it freaked me the fuck out. And I, talked about it, I think, on my Instagram story that evening. So to kind of put more context to it, I was very involved in the Murderino community back around that time. And so I believe we were having like a Zoom night or something like a community like get together, but we really heavily emphasized it because of the earthquake and people were just so freaked out by it all. However, I wasn't able to jump on that Zoom and would later get a text from somebody else and said, the craziest thing happened. Billy jumped on the Zoom and he was asking where you were and was asking if you were okay with the earthquake. I was so confused because I was like, wait, what? He jumped on, and of course, and these were murderinos. at the time who didn't know about who he was, and they were all excited. They were like, "Oh my gosh, Billy Jensen came on," and da da da. After that, I didn't hear from Billy ever again.
Well, he was jumping
And
on their
then,
coattails now.
yeah, yeah. It was a really hard thing for me to distinguish. And up until the point that I was contacted by the whistleblower to be their advocate during that process, that was when everything came to a halt. And it was, oh no, he's been this person and then some. And there was no going back for me after that point. That process of supporting the whistleblower, and just as you said, this is a person who can't talk essentially, and I know there are quite a few people who wish they could talk, but they can't, and it is really, really disheartening because there is power in numbers. I'm a firm believer that no matter how many times I tell my story, it's going to help one person. And I realized at that point, oh, I can actually help this person as well. And then I get deposed and I have to go through this legal process. And at the time, I was traveling for In Pursuit with John Walsh, and I kept putting it off. And in all honesty, like I didn't return the calls of the attorney, and I just didn't know what was happening. And I finally realized, oh, me telling my story of what happened that night at the Watergate is going to actually help someone. But going through that and having to repeat myself so many times, and even though it was not the most horrific assault I've ever encountered, it still was very traumatizing and very triggering as someone who does not like to be touched by men, period.
Yeah.
Even down to hugging, I really respect people who ask for my consent first. So, with that being said, being touched and stroked and being hugged for long stretch of time, like I know people are very, very vicious when it comes to my experiences of that particular evening with both men. And I'm here to say it does not matter. I gave no consent to either individual that evening. No man should follow another woman into their room, let alone their hotel room. This isn't me, again, attacking people for their body size that people were coming at me with. I mean, I was called fat phobic, and people are very, very cruel. And what hurt even worse was that people in the true crime community started turning on myself, you, and it became this game all of a sudden. And people who I have never, ever met before, have had a conversation with, decided to write this piece about me, that I went on and went through every single allegation that they said in that and gave a definition or explanation, whatever it was. So with that being said, I'm calling him out. I just, James Renner has done a lot of damage in this true crime community, and not just as myself, but multiple people that are trauma survivors. And this is somebody who, once again, knows nothing about me, was contacting me relentlessly to comment and was threatening with, if you're not going to respond to me, I'm going to release this blog. And I mean, it was very terrifying at that point. And it was so incredibly terrifying for a lot of the other survivors of Billy's. And then next thing you know, some time goes by, and then I start seeing this same person attacking you on Twitter. And then next thing I know, it turns into this whole thing as well on your end of it. So I want people to know that we have experienced a lot of harassment and
Yeah.
abusive behavior in this community on top of what we experienced.
Yeah, well, it's just funny to me that this all kind of stems from one person that we called out in a sense, and
Yep.
how the Obsessed Fest stuff, if you guys know about that, that wouldn't have happened if what's his face would have just kept his yap shut and stopped trying to get me involved in stuff.
Correct.
And I need to go back. I do have screenshots of him, and it's not like proven, but if you look at the text thread, he almost is admitting to enticing me to make a statement about the Obsessed Fest article that he wrote.
My goodness.
And he was also trying, well, it was like insinuating, and it went something along these lines. Like basically a lot of people, and this isn't word for word, but this is like a synopsis of what his tweet said. Basically, it said, so many people had stuff to say about Billy Jensen, but where is everybody's when this article comes up? Or where is everybody about like the obsessed stuff? And
Hmm.
sexual allegations in toxic work environment are two separate forms of abuse and
Yep.
two different forms of abuse. And for me, I actually have not had any bad experiences with Patrick.
Hmm.
And so I couldn't speak about the toxic work environment because
Yeah.
I have not had experience with that.
Right.
I that was not my wheelhouse of things that I know and talk about. I don't talk about toxic work environment. That's not my platform. I talk about domestic violence and different types of like that is a but that's not my, my
Exactly.
forte.
Yeah.
So for me to make a comment on that, I'm sorry, but I have no place in that.
Right.
I do have a place now because of everything that I experienced
Hmm.
going through all of that, but that is really neither my story to tell.
Yep.
I'll support the people who need supporting, but support can be in many different ways. And you need to support someone in what is best for your mental health.
Mm.
And me getting involved in that stuff wouldn't have been good for my mental health, but somehow he dragged me into it anyways. And well, like I got triggered by that tweet because
Hmm.
I felt as if it was enticing me to say something about the matter.
Right.
And he knew that I was going to the festival. So, and then there was also a few other tweets about something like, "Oh, why are all these people going to the festival?" or something along the lines. Like why are people still going to festival or not making statements about it? Something around that. I'm getting harassed
Hmm.
and not to the magnitude that happened.
Yeah.
Like this was like probably like 5 messages here and there being like, "Why are you guys going to Obsessed Fest? And that's so not ethical, blah, blah, blah."
Hmm.
And well, I don't think it's ethical to sign up for something and then not go last minute and bail on your fans in a
Yeah.
sense.
Right. Yep.
Unless you know it's like a legit thing, like a bomb or like, oh, like if Ellen would have canceled, I would have understood, you know?
Hmm.
But for me and Collier to cancel, like that that doesn't really help us in any way
Right.
and doesn't really make the fans that we were going to see feel really great or anything. That I would feel so disappointed if I was going to see someone like traveling and everything and then that person didn't show up. I would feel so disappointed, you know?
Yeah. Right.
So we get there. There's a lot of drama going on, and all I see is kind of like Ellen coming into the room. And if you know Ellen, Ellen's also loud. And so that triggers me just based on my trauma. And I said to her, like, you were showing up in all these dresses too. So that was like, a
Yeah.
sign. even though like she, I love her outfits and everything. And so it was just like all this misinformation was being put onto me.
Yeah.
And I said the only way I would say anything to her is if I got stuck in an elevator with her. And I said something to her, and guess what it was about? It was about James Renner. And basically telling her that he's not ethical, in my opinion, and saying that, he's not the one to go to for like putting out a toxic work article, basically.
Uh,
And he's
correct.
enticing people to go after me.
Mm,
And she didn't talk to James Renner.
mm,
But I thought she did still, and then Collier interjected, and then somehow ended up where we were in the elevator, got out of the elevator. I was trying to walk away from her, but like Collier and her were still engaging with each other.
mhm,
And then at one point I yell, and now it's like in front of 600, 800 of her fans. I yell at her to fuck off,
mhm,
because like her and my boyfriend are arguing.
mhm,
And then I guess I yelled something again about James Renner because her handler that I'm now cool with, it's actually Ashley's birthday today. And I yelled at her something about like James Renner and my trauma.
mm,
And then James took that nice video of me, where like Joey came up and then he had someone film it.
yeah.
And I just kept saying, like, please leave us alone, please leave us alone. And I was hysterically crying. And then that video got um put around, and it was like, I'm not surprised he would that James Renner like did a tweet something along the lines of like, I'm not surprised
Mhm.
by this at Obsessed Fest and stuff. Yeah.
It's so predatory, and just as you say on a regular basis, no victim is perfect. And I think this is what has been, somewhat of this motivation to do whatever that these people can try to do to our characters. And it really is a character assassination, if you will, because that's not who we are as
Yeah.
people. And this is again someone who pretty consistently has provoked trauma survivors. And I mean, he has been banned for apparently just a year with CrimeCon.
Just a
Um,
year, because I was also ignored when I was hitting them up, Celene.
yeah. I am not I will happily say this on record. I am not a supporter of CrimeCon, and that has been for quite some time. There are a lot of, in my opinion, unethical events that occur. I don't feel like it is a safe space for some trauma survivors. I mean, truly, if they would have taken the Renner situation more seriously, he would be banned for life from this event. But the fact that he is back is really, really disheartening. And this is somebody who also caused even more havoc during really difficult times. And again, new traumatic events for both you and I. So while that was happening on your end, I was dealing with the wave of the last podcast stuff. And I remember you and I connecting like, I don't even know, maybe like a week after Obsessed Fest. And we were just like, you good? What the fuck is happening in our lives right now? Like, when did we turn into bad guys again? And it's like, it's this hero and a villain. Like, I constantly feel like that's how it's been for me for the past couple of years. And it is, I am not a perfect person. I have not made perfect decisions since I've been in this for a while, but a lot of that was because people kept introducing themselves to me. And I always try to see the best in people. I mean, that's how I got acquainted with Emily Nestor. She DM'd me about my project, and so I would, love talking to people who are in the same space. And so, whatever it may be. But as I've learned over the course of time, I have really created a small, small bubble in terms of who I allow in my space. And that's strictly because of the last couple years and how difficult it's been as a silence breaker in a community that already has a lot of traumatized individuals and a lot of support for trauma survivors. And yet, when we become, abused again, and it's from somebody in the community, and then people now try to vilify us for it when now there is proof. I wouldn't be
Yeah.
deposed. I wouldn't be deposed if it wasn't true in terms of like the allegations and stuff. And we could go on forever on this, but I want to go back. You are somebody that has taken your trauma and have just beautifully blossomed into so many different types of programs and workshops and doing things in the name of ethical true crime. Can you tell me about that?
Yes. So my goal is to really, because, as a producer, you could take someone's story and can kind of own it and create
Yes.
it into something.
Hmm.
And, it's kind of like a double-edged sword. Like, it's great if you're the producer putting it all together, but also I want producers to think more ethical. And also here's the thing too. If you ask for money for a certain project too, and you ask for like a lump sum, then you could be paid that lump sum and just be done.
Yeah.
And the project could continue to make money, or you could like ask for residuals and stuff. I always recommend asking for a lump sum and residuals, but I don't have residuals. Interesting thing, because I could kind of be set in my life given the podcast, given the series and
Hmm.
everything, but I'm someone that struggles financially. I have major trauma, and I also
Hmm.
have to kind of freelance and do things when I can do them, if that makes sense.
Yep.
And so I created a couple different things. I created podcasting course so people can create a somewhat ethical podcast.
Hmm.
And then also if they want to share their own story, they can really take that format and then make their own story like their own,
Hmm.
so that they own their IP, they own their everything. And so I really like putting the power back into the survivor's hand. And then I also do coaching where I teach people about trauma, the basics about trauma, and then also teach people how to use different tools to help with the triggers. I don't claim I'm going to heal anyone, because the healing work has to truly be done by you in a
Hmm.
sense.
Hmm.
But I try to give people the tools where they can get to a place where hopefully they're living in their homeostasis and their baseline of rest and digest of the nervous system. And if you don't know what that means, absolutely need to take my course.
We're going to be throwing up a link either way. So, yes.
Thank you. Yeah. And then I also, I'm starting to develop my own project
Hmm.
about my own story to put it to bed, because I'm over talking about me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I am also helping other survivors. Like right before this, I had a call with a production and also helping that person do a documentary about their story. And I'm I feel like a lot of production companies, or like one in particular, seem that I'm starting to be an asset for them because I have a lot of connections with survivors and with other stories. Yeah, so that's what I'm doing now, and
That's amazing.
just trying to live life and get to the point where I have a baby like you.
It is the best, but also so hard. The day that you become a mother too, this work is going to mean even more to you, if that even makes sense. I mean, being able to watch you and your journey over these years has been incredible. Like I was just living my corporate life when I first heard Dirty John, and I would drive almost an hour to work every day, back and forth. And I remember binging it, and I remember like your voice so distinctly. And then just like I said, from that to today, you're amazing. It really, really is incredible. One of the things that you have been hitting on when you're talking about these projects, you keep bringing up the term collaboration or people owning their stories and their IP. That is something that is what I also share in my producing with empathy as well. But with that being said, any type of collaboration on a project, like, do you think that that's going to make it that much stronger rather than just having like loose ends and a little bit of information, a little bit of people? But if you're right there one on one working with someone, what do you think that project would look like?
Well, I think, for example, the O.J. Simpson stuff
Mm,
that has been so blown out of proportion. Some people are like, how did, oh, there two people? Was there one person?
yeah.
Also, was Ron dating her? Was he having an affair with her? There's so many false information from that
Hmm.
story
Hmm.
that got produced into a movie. And guess what? Even more false information got spewed. And that story is kind of so convoluted now,
Hmm.
where I think it's really important to work with the families, work with the actual victims, because you actually get more accurate information on the story.
Hmm.
And there's going to be sometimes those people that are kind of hiding a little bit, or they don't want to give all the information.
Yeah.
And that is completely normal. But if you have a survivor and they are ready to tell their story, they're going to want to give you so much that you're like, wait, what?
Exactly. Exactly. And it's beneficial because just like you said, you know what it's like. Like you can do an interview and then you read back the interview and you're like, well, I didn't really say it that, or I didn't say it this way, or you know what I mean? Like there's all those like little misinformation things that happen. So that's why it's important to also make sure you have consent.
Yeah.
If you know, if the other party doesn't want to participate, but there are instances where people say you can proceed and do, you know, this, and I'm comfortable with this and this and this, but I'm not going to be on camera. Like
Yeah.
that's fine too, in my opinion, I think. So you talked a little bit about though, your healing work and coaching. How do you think that has helped you on your own healing journey?
Well, it's said that a part of the healing journey even is the step in helping others and getting so much even benefits from that for
Yeah.
yourself. And I also think I'm just like a natural or born appeaser, but I also don't want anyone to go into a situation, not know what's happening, and then have their trauma kind of pushed all over everywhere,
Hmm.
because you have to still process that trauma. I thought that, oh, it's on TV. I worked in the industry. It's a really shiny bow, but it's more so like when you teach a kid to wrap a present, it's more like
Yeah.
that.
Perfect analogy. Oh, I love it. Yeah, that makes sense. So I do want to just mention that you are a mom to a hurting dog, and we share this. Dixon. Can you talk about how Dixon like has just been your buddy through and through and how he also is a part of your journey?
Yes, so I actually got him right after Cash passed away, and Cash was the dog that was in my attack with me.
Yeah.
And he's the same exact breed, but Cash was so serious, and
Mm,
Cash was like wise beyond his years. And then he passed, and that was really hard on me.
yeah.
And then I got Dixon, and Dixon is this goofball. He is so not serious.
Yeah.
And he just brings so much love and light to my day. If I didn't, like, I am the type of person that I need to have a dog.
Yeah.
If I don't have a dog, I like when Cash passed away, I remember waking up, and then I was like, what do I do?
Mm,
And then I would just walk in circles sometimes. And then I was like,
yeah.
what am I doing walking in a circle right now in like my living room?
Yeah. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, he gets me up out of bed.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would spend most of my days in bed and I would probably be like so obese because I would just eat cookies and stay in bed all day.
I'm that makes me happy. Okay. Now, this is the part of the podcast where we get to know you a little bit better. So, first question. If you could have a superpower, what would it be and why?
I would be a shapeshifter
Hell
so
yeah.
that I can transform into all the animals. And I could fake be a person, like an
Yeah.
X-Men of what's her face, where she's a shapeshifter, and then she just like pretends to be like the president and stuff. I could be like, I'm gonna pretend to be the president today.
I love that answer. That's a fun one, actually. Now, what's the most interesting thing you've read or watched lately
I don't know. I'm not.
or listened to? You listen to podcasts?
I listen to a lot of books, but like the books are the one I'm listening to right now is How Emotions Are Made.
Ooh,
And then also Secure Love, but it's like a book that I've been reading for a while, and it's just like because I was going through a breakup that I didn't really want to read a book about how to like rebuild my relationship.
yeah. Yeah.
So that one's been a slow read. And then I've just been watching a lot of Veronica Mars
Oh,
lately.
hell yeah. Well, I was gonna ask, do you have a comfort show or movie?
I love Lord of the Rings.
Yeah?
Yes.
Ooh.
But also like Legally Blonde, The Hot Chick, like all those like movies where the humor is super terrible now.
Yeah. Aren't they? Isn't it crazy to like go back and watch those and you're just like, how did this get made?
Well, you're like, oh, everything that comes out of Vince Vaughn's mouth. Oh wow.
Yeah.
No wonder he hasn't done so many movies in a while.
Seriously. I love that. What about music? What do you listen to?
I love country. I love That's what I listen to the most is probably like country.
Yeah.
But then I also like I don't know, I'm weird too because if a song comes on, I don't know if you do this, but I've been doing this lately, like Frank Sinatra. I'm like, he's
Ooh.
so misogynistic.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, a lady doesn't leave her man? Oh,
Yeah. Oh
no.
yeah. Listen to songs from like the 50s and 60s and you're just like, damn. Times
Mhm.
have changed.
Yeah. And
Ugh.
even like rap songs because of Rita. Rita Rita's like, "Oh my gosh, they say this, they say that, they say the N-word and all of this."
Yeah.
And Tara thought is so like disturbing. And I was like, why was I like a 12-year-old like being like, yeah,
Yeah.
and then not paying attention to the words and what's being said?
Yeah. That's been a big one. That's hip hop used to be my favorite genre. And then now I find myself actually, I just listen to female hip hoppers now. So, I mean, yeah, that totally checks out too. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can answer this one, but I am going to ask it. If you were an animal, just one, what would you be?
I don't know. I think I might be a bird.
Mm.
Like a bird that lives a long time so that I can see the world. I'm scared of heights. So I'll get over that if I'm a bird. And then birds are like prehistoric, so they've been around for a while. And if another ice age or anything happens, the world ends, they just might outlive us all.
Yeah,
Or a shark,
seriously.
you know.
Ooh. Yeah, that's another good one, actually. What's a hobby or passion that you have that might surprise people?
I don't know if this I can use this one. I'm a stoner.
I will gladly claim that with you.
Oh, I'm like, oh, what am I into? Oh.
Let's talk about that for a minute, though, because So I have been clean of alcohol for a little over 2 years. And I think marijuana for me allows me to process my trauma on my terms, if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense, or I'm just really high.
It can act as a beta blocker at times.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're doing EMDR therapy, it's
Mhm.
said to actually block certain processors in the brain and not allowing it to like flow into like your inceptors in a sense.
Mm,
So, I actually stopped smoking when I was doing heavy EMDR therapy so that I could get the best benefits of that.
yeah.
But in other ways, it helps me when I get into fight or flight sometimes to calm me down and to get to
Yes.
that rest and digest.
Hmm.
And I like so many of my clients, and it's kind of like a thing where, certain states there is like shame around it. And
Yeah.
if you're super old school, like there's like, oh, you consider it a drug.
Yeah.
But I more so not consider it an herb,
Hmm. I agree.
and right. And it's
Yeah.
medicine, and and everything there, and everything you can like overdo it.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? But I think that there's a lot of people that, can't even sleep.
Yeah.
And it helps them sleep. It really helps you get to REM 2 really fast.
Hmm.
But it doesn't have that long lasting effect where you like stay asleep, but it helps you get to sleep.
Yeah.
And some people need that just to get to that moment, just to get to that place. And, trauma is so stressful that if you're using a substance that is, say, weed, and you're doing it in a certain amount of dosage, you're not overdoing it. I think that it can be extremely beneficial for trauma patients. That's what I've seen.
Yeah. I agree with everything, everything, everything you were saying. But yeah, I think I'm right there with you. It's an herb. I just realized my quality of life has been so much better since I've been able to do that on a more consistent basis. Usually I try not to do it during the week and
Yeah.
have like a little bit more clarity. But by the time, the weekend comes and I'm just like, okay, I just want to detach from everything I've done this week and this is my happy space. And I think it makes me a very calming mother too. So I am also for mothers who garden, if you will. But hey, next question. What's your go-to karaoke song if you have one?
Go-to karaoke song. It is Before He Cheats by Carrie Underwood.
Hell yeah, that used to be my old one.
Gotta save a little trouble for the next girl.
It's
Next
a
time that he
badass
cheats.
song.
Right?
I love it. What about a travel spot? Is there a place that you go to that makes you feel just like at your best?
Well, I mean, I wish I could go there every day. But I've only been there once.
Uh-huh.
Thailand. Thailand is so great. Oh, I just love to travel because I also loved New Zealand going to Hobbiton. That was
Oh,
fun.
I
And then
bet.
I was supposed to go to Peter Jackson Studios Weta, but then I sent the person the wrong dates for me to go, so I
Oh
wasn't able to go.
no. Oh. Well, hopefully that comes back around.
Right?
That's
Yeah,
incredible.
because Richard Suckle, his friend Terry that I met before at the premiere and stuff, Terry Notary, yeah. He worked in the animatronics, and
Wow.
so he built like the Battle of the Five Armies for Lord of the Rings and or for no, that was The Hobbit. Sorry.
Oh, wow. Oh
Mhm.
my gosh. That's so cool. I love that fact about you though. I had no idea about the Lord of the Rings, so this is making me happy. Um, okay. Orange County. Do you have a favorite restaurant, coffee shop, bookstore, anything you want to shout out?
Too many. I love so my go-to for like comfort in anything, and this could be like even if I'm in New York, a Hillstone restaurant.
Ooh.
And that's Sorry. Whenever
I
there's
know that exact look. I know that.
well, it's always on set when the helicopter or the airplane goes, you're like, it's just a natural thing that I do.
I get it. I get it. Yep.
Yeah, so Hillstone restaurants, they have amazing burgers. There's like R&D, there's Gulfstream, there's Houston's. Houston's is actually where my mom had her first date with John.
Oh.
And then there's the Honor Bar. Those are all Hillstone restaurants. And then I love Rogers Garden. It's farm to table. It's a really cute spot and it's in like a garden. They have like a nursery and everything and they have some really cool Halloween stuff going on this
Oh,
year.
cute. Oh, that's
Yes,
you've shown it on your story, haven't you? I think I feel
probably.
like I've seen it. Yeah. I have an
Yes.
idea of what it is. And last question, who are some of your heroes and why?
Well, I like want to see my dog, Cash. He
Yeah.
was my hero for sure, because he was with me in my attack and really did have a big component in saving my life.
Yeah.
And I look up to, I don't know, I look up to people that are kind of changing the curve and speaking up when it's uncomfortable to do so.
Yeah.
You know, when I don't want to say anyone in particular because just like whenever I see someone speaking up, that's when I'm like, those are my heroes.
Yeah. I'm with you. I like that. Tara, this is your time to drop everything that you are doing, do your plugs, all of it. Go.
So I have the podcasting course that is really important for me. And there's really a lot of information on there, whether you want to just like start a podcast and you don't know what you're doing, or whether you want to create your own story, or if you want to even polish your own podcast that you have now. There's a lot of great information in there. And I have a client, her podcast charting right now.
Yeah.
So I just like to say if you like do exactly what I say or like work with me in collaboration with it, because I do coaching calls if people are like, I need more advice on what to do with the podcast. And I also do a sliding scale too. Like
Awesome.
my last client, I think, paid me $60 and my normal rate is like 175 for the hour.
Yeah.
And I've also taken clients for like $20 for that hour because I just really want to help.
Yeah.
And not everybody can afford the help that they need in the moment, you know?
Yeah. That's huge.
So I got that going on. I got a 5-week moving past trauma course, and there's a video every single day where I teach you a little bit about trauma. I give you different tools and tricks to use, also a meditation every day to go with that. And then I also have a Sedona retreat coming up. That was for September 13th through the 16th. But one of my clients, she has a surgery that just got booked, and it's a really important surgery.
Mm.
And so we're going to push that back to probably October, and because all the other girls are down to do it then. And so hit me up about Sedona if you want to go to Sedona, because we're picking a date right now, but we just
Yeah.
pushed it back because it's going to accommodate everyone a little bit more too.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And then what about your podcast?
Oh yeah, I have a podcast. You could check out my podcast, Tara's Baddies Club. This one's more so a hobbyist podcast where I have on friends, I have on different survivors, people in true crime, and then also relationship experts here and there. And then I also do have a podcast. Survivor Squad is just not ongoing anymore, but there's amazing survivor stories featured on there. So check it out.
That's amazing. Tara, thank you. Thank you for this really honest and open conversation. I love you, T. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you. Love you too.
Join me next week as I sit down with survivor, author, and senior producer Polly Katowski, who has spent the last decade sharing true crime stories on television and in podcasts. She has written, produced, and cast for some of the most popular daytime and true crime shows, including The Dr. Phil Show, Crime Watch Daily with Chris Hansen, Jensen and Holes' The Murder Squad, Court Junkie, and True Crime News. This is True Crime in Hollywood, a personal tale. Thank you for listening, and as always, remember the victims and embrace the survivors.